Hello everyone, it's Mona Magic. I'd like to say with great pleasure I have with me Frater Ashen. It's something that you don't get quite often, and to have someone who has the knowledge that he has, that he's brought to his book, that he's brought to so much research that he's actually put in, and lots of things that he hasn't even given to the public. So tonight, or let's just say depending on where you're at, in the afternoon or the morning, you're in for a very special treat. And here he is. Hello there, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
You know what? I want to allow you this time to really speak to the audience and tell everyone a little bit about yourself, because this is the first time that, I've interviewed you, and really, the information that I've seen in your book, Gateway Through Stone and Circle, that you've published through Nephilim Press, is quite impressive. And I'd like to go on a little bit more about that throughout the interview. But first and foremost, let's hear what you have to say about your intro.
Okay. Well, since I was young, I've always been kind of fascinated and, if not directly involved in the paranormal and spiritual activities and magic kind of as a whole. And I came upon ceremonial magic at a young age, probably about 14 years ago, where I started reading these manuals and reading a lot of books on magic that were coming out to the public, that people were conducting these experiments, whether they were the Key of Solomon or the Goetia, and having conversations and working with these various spiritual beings. And I wanted to see if I could do that for myself. When I was growing up, my family and I had a lot of experiences with spirits, and all kinds of things were going on through the house, and it was kind of chaotic and random, and sometimes it was terrifying, other times it was just strange, but nobody knew exactly what to do about it. And a lot of my interest in magic was spurred on by being able to get a grasp on what exactly was going on, and if there was something to be learned by it, how to protect myself and family when I needed to, and just to get better understanding about what this whole magical and spiritual world was all about. And when I came into the interest and practice of the grimoires, I began with a knowledge base, learning about the various magical lodges that were out there, the history of the grimoires, and this kind of ancient tradition of these books on magic, and just trying to understand what it was all about. And I guess leading up to when Gateways was going on, I had started experimenting with a lot of these big grimoires and having quite just amazing results and actions where these spirits would appear to me, and I could actually hear them and see them very plainly, and I was having just amazing results with it. So I continued on with that. And Gateways Through Stone and Circle is an experiment that just started out as me recording and getting a lot of just basically sharing what I was doing for this part that's in the Magus, and it's called Drawing Spirits into Crystals. It's a very simple, very straightforward method for contacting angels and various spirits. And I just wanted to see if it could work doing it the traditional way, and if so, what my results would be, what everything would be like. And that's exactly what I did. It's a record of my experiences making the implements, going through the procedures, and the results that I got from it. It ended up being a very, very powerful and amazing way to contact these archangels, who up to this point, until I started doing these experiments, is I'd never seen them, I'd never interacted with these beings, these archangels, quite in that way before. And the experiment just seemed to really bring them about where they were there, and there, and quite a bit of glory and dynamic presence, where I was completely blown away going through these invocations of each, and all 7 of them.
I see. How long was the experimental stage for you?
The preparation stage?
The experimental stage.
Oh, the experimental stage. Uh, the way I decided to do this was to make everything according to what the book suggested. Everything from the circle to the way the crystal was held, and I didn't do any invocations until I had all the materials present. And I guess one of the most amazing things is when I did my very first invocation of Archangel Cassiel,
Mm-hmm.
that he appeared, and I didn't have any rust stages. I had before, of course, I'd been doing Grimoire magic before this for quite a long time, but I still didn't know what to expect once I conducted this experiment. I had never done it before, but it ended up bringing his presence and his vision there, and I was able to converse with him and learn quite a bit. So that very first experiment that I did with drawing spirits into crystals using this method that my book is about, I got results, and he appeared. So it was pretty amazing. That was probably one of the first times that had happened.
I see. Do you feel that the interaction that you received is because of your innate ability, or is it because of the instructions that you followed through?
I'd like to say that it is somewhere lies on both.
I see.
I have had experiences, and I think there's definitely something there, the ability to see and to converse with spirits, and to have those abilities, and you know, I guess it really helps out having the knowledge that that can happen and that it
Sure.
has happened. So I was able to move past that, but I had made, in my magical pursuits, I had made kind of attempts to converse with various beings and things before, and sometimes I would get results, sometimes I wouldn't, or sometimes it would be very ambiguous, and I wasn't quite sure exactly what happened. But the reason why I've continued with grimoire work is that when I've put the efforts into it, and it gives a solid outline about how to conduct these experiments, and how to, achieve these audiences with these
Mm-hmm.
beings.
Mm-hmm.
When I've really put my efforts into that and have conducted that way, I've achieved just amazing results. I mean, the book is really, and the words have, led up to its promises that this will happen. And so that's why I was, excited, and I really put forth the effort and the expense and the time to actually make these implements, and to conduct the rituals this way, is because of the results I've achieved through it. And if that's part of my mind relying upon that, or more convinced through following these guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's getting all these energies kind of arranged in kind of an organized manner where it happens easier, it's really hard to say. I just know that I've been able to have success through doing it in these ways, and I haven't been disappointed.
Sure. How much have you actually how much have you had to change in order to actually attain the actual goals and the manifestation of what you have done so far? Have you had to change lots? Because with the grimoires of past, you've got translation, you've got reinterpretation of really from that translation to the point of, it's not very often you can get some of the materials of let's just say mini yesteryear.
Yeah, that's correct. There is, with the grimoires, they have been retranslated and written down. And this particular experiment was supposed to come from an abbot known as Tritemius,
Mm-hmm.
who was basically the guru, the master that's taught probably the biggest names in the Western esoteric system. He basically inspired this particular procedure. And for whatever, if he is the true author of it or not, or for whatever reason, it seems to work. And I haven't had to change much. I haven't changed anything. I wanted to follow the um, the magical procedure as closely to the letter as I could, to
I
see
see.
what could be achievable, and then if I needed to change something afterwards. That's always been my method, is to start and to practice as close to the book as I can, and then if need be, if something doesn't work out, or if I'm just not achieving results after attempting it quite a few times, then I'll reconsider what I might need to change. But even with some of my adaptations, like I wasn't able to get a solid gold ring to encase the crystal in, but I was able to gold leaf and put gold around it, and that still seemed to work, and gave me the results I was achieving. But I still use the same invocation, and they're very religious and very Christian oriented, and I haven't taken away from that. I wanted to be able to still understand and experience the same results that Tamias or these other magicians may have had.
I see. So, are you saying that basically you haven't changed much? Because I was just wondering, many of the, let's say, the adepts of many years ago, 1500s, and, going way back, as time goes on, things change. Even with the planetary aspects of the 7 planets versus the 12, and then 13, and whoever knows how many other planets and things like that, and even Pluto being a rock versus a planet, things like that. As we grow and knowledge of technology and awareness of what is and what isn't, and the fallacies of just tradition and taboo and things like that, so many things are changing. How much has changed to the point that you have seen the manifestation of the actual grimoires working and the actual rites that you've actually performed versus, hey, wait a minute, if I did this, this would actually work? Or have you seen things that work best old school and that should stay that way versus us changing them in today's ritual?
The way that I've seen is that a lot of things have changed in the knowledge that we have now. And just like you said, the movement of the planets and the stars and our knowledge of them, and the comprehension about what these spirits are or what they possibly could be and how that relates to humanity. I definitely take that all into account, but the way that I approach grimoire magic is just because it's old doesn't necessarily mean it's outdated.
Of course not.
And I think a lot of people read these magic and they get excited, but they immediately they jump to modifications and, well, I don't really need gold, I'll use this instead, and they without honoring any of it, they just kind of basically take what they want and then they try something new. And from everything that I read and researched, and also from because I started there as well, I think like everybody else did, I didn't have the means or probably not the patience to do this. I was like, well, that's neat. I'll just try it this way, and I'm sure it'll work. And basically, I tried it that way, and I didn't really get satisfied. There was always something missing. I didn't get satisfactory results. The spirit didn't really appear in a solid enough form that I could interact with it the way that I wanted, and I was kind of frustrated. And it was just kind of a school of thought that was developing around the same time I was conducting these experiments. There was the good enough school, or the kind of that it's there, you just have to imagine the spirit's there, and it was kind of very, very loose in interpretation. It was the kind of everything goes, and you're achieving it, you just don't worry about how well you see it. And for me, I guess that was never good enough. I was never able to settle for that. And it's just started coming up. I was like, well, what would happen if I did it right by the book, if I did not omit the materials, if I did not admit these lengthy conjurations that were very religious and everything? What would happen if I actually did it like the book said? And I guess I was determined to really figure out, is there something there that I might be missing, jumping to conclusions of, oh, this is all old, I don't need this. And so when I began conducting these experiments exactly as the grimoire said, to be honest, the first time I did it full blown, I didn't actually achieve anything. It was very frustrating. Nothing happened. The spirit didn't show up. I had previous experiments that were even better, but I didn't drop the ball. I didn't abandon the idea. I was like, I still need to figure out if there's any merit. And luckily, the very next time that I decided to do an evocation of a spirit using the traditional methods, it happened, and I was able to achieve this manifestation of the spirit that looked right in front of me. I didn't have to stay in this kind of I don't know, altered state of mind where it could be broken and they would disappear. I mean, I could
Sure.
look away and it would still be there.
Sure.
I mean, it was incredible, and I was able to hear and speak with these beings, and that was my personal goal. That's what I wanted to achieve. And I accomplished this also through the what's called the Almadel workings, where you make these wax tablets, and these angels are supposed to appear. And those were some of the most incredible experiences personally that I ever had, and it was through following these traditional magical ritual outlines. So from that point on, I come at magic, grimoire magic, to the point that I should assume nothing. That despite the advances of technology and the different comprehensions of various spiritualities and religions and this kind of thing, that there's something in these writings that's to be honored, even if they have been changed or altered by other scribes and magicians and this thing. If I decided to try to replicate an experiment, I will start with the book first, and then move through there, and then after giving it the kind of the honor and the time that it deserves, then if there's alterations that I feel need to be incorporated in there, then I'll make those changes. But so far. The books have not let me down, so that's been my excitement. That's been basically my revelation is they work. I'm able to get something from these, and I try to keep in the integrity of working from these ancient manuscripts of magic, even if I don't understand them at first.
Good. That's excellent. Well, Brother Ashen, with your gateway through Stone and Circle, can you describe, or let's just say, give us a blueprint of why that particular title? Because it sounds very definite. It sounds very ritualistic. It sounds, whereas that what is written will not be changed, if you will, and as you've demonstrated or as you've mentioned. Is that how we came across about the actual name of the book? Is that really what really embraces the essence of what your book is about?
I suppose it does. I actually had a few different title ideals that I pitched to my publisher actually, and he seemed to like this one the most that I came up with. And the gateways through Stone and Circle is basically just I wanted to create an image of being able to step into that other world, because it really is it's almost like a separate understanding of reality, really going through that magical portal when the angel is truly there, and when you're truly in the midst of these ancient magical experiments, and they appear. Going through that gateway, the stone is the focal point, the crystal orb, the shoe stone. That is what you're concentrating on when you're in the midst of this experiment, and it is basically opening up that gateway. It's an orb, it's a sphere, and you're also standing or sitting within the midst of this consecrated circle. So these elements of lining up of this, ritual with these very, I guess, archaic ritual symbols and vestments and tools that you're using are initiating this experiment, this gateway, being able to step through and actually converse with these archangels. So it was just kind of a way of lining up, giving honor to the tradition of these tools that you're using, and being able to stand within this circle, which is, kind of this ever dynamic symbol of unending universal continuation, whatever that is, whether it's magic or the universe itself or your experience there of it. So.
Sure. Well, you mentioned a lot of traditional aspects of it, and you are a man of the 20th century. This the century here, and we take a little bit from the past and we bring it into the future. But as you know, the spirit realm is timeless. So there is no past, there is no future. It just is. It exists. So with that, we are incorporating a lot of things as humans into the grimoires that, as I mentioned, to the planetary aspects that have been locked in that time frame of what they did know and what they didn't know. And you, as a person of today, has a lot of different things going on that you know differently. Now, what have you put into these grimoires, this particular book here, that perhaps wasn't in the books of yesteryear?
What I'm presenting in Gateways Through Stone and Circle, first of all, is my comprehension about how it works.
I
It
see.
introduces the history and everything about my own take of, possibly this is how the magic works. This is how the angel actually appears, because it's something I thought about long after it actually occurred. I sit down and I'm like, this is amazing, but what's really going on
Yeah.
here? And also what I learned from the angels themselves. But what I present is, for a modern person, how do I make these tools?
I
The
see.
circle, the gold disc, and
Sure.
the ebony. I had a lot of trials and everything about how I made it. So I help the person who might be interested how to make these tools and get ready for the actual procedure, for one. And then also what I present in the book is a lot of take on my angels, or the knowledge that I kind of received from the angels themselves, and they are timeless. But it's interesting how they understand that they're not speaking to the magician that was in the 15th century. They understand about the planets being these spheres of gas or whatever things way out there, but the relation to them and how that still works, and even though it kind of goes beyond the magician's comprehension of them in the 15th century, they're completely aware of that, but they're able to also bridge the gap of knowledge, and the relation to people is very interesting. And I think despite our advances in technology and knowledge and everything else, they still consider us in a very similar way of not being able to truly comprehend their essence. We can
Of
comprehend
course. Right.
an ideal of them, and they're able to be very accommodating for that, which is very very kind of them. Basically, they're able to take our comprehension of them and knowledge and work with us in a way that we can use their knowledge and use their presence and being there, conversing with us, to some sort of beneficial end, even if we don't totally understand what that all entails. And I try to present that somewhat in the book as well, of my experiences going through these procedures and what that's about.
I see. So have you been able to, because of the connection that you've made, the initial connection that you've made, and let's just say the continuous connection that you've made, have you been able to call upon and evoke without the let's just say the routine of the actual rituals that you've gone through in the past?
That's a good question, because and I have been asked that before, and definitely say there would be a possibility. But another, I guess, reason why I see the importance of the grimoires and the lengthy procedures is that this is a formal greeting and a formal meeting between two very different entities. I mean, there's relations between everything, but when I'm considering an archangel, even if I had the ability, I don't think I would ever conjure them or invite them into their full presence like they've manifested during some of these rituals in a non-formal setting. For one, it seems rude for their presence and the amazing experiences that I've had for them to do something informal would I don't know if it would upset them so much as that it would do a disservice almost to me. It's a lot of these, invocations from the prayers and the greetings. Everything is like you would do as an ambassador to a king or somebody that you had a lot of respect for and everything. You would, even if you would feel need to be almost on equal levels and everything, if you had a lot of respect for them, or if you acknowledged them as being a powerful individual, it would never be like, hey, how's it going? Whatever. That's my personal take. And so I guess that would be, my personal answer for that is I would not strip the elements of the ritual, the formalities, just because of my personal take on what they are and my relationship to them.
Indeed, there's a lot of respect there. That's a good thing. I think that many have lost the respect of the various deities, and that they rather evoke and, let's just say, if not dominate, control and contain, and that's a different story. So, going forward, have you ventured into any type of demonic evocations then?
Yes, I consider myself a Western magician to be able to invoke and deal with spirits on all aspects. The Goetia was my first interest and passion, and still is, even with this practice, still one of my more, I guess, intent pursuits that I do is to contact and work with the goetic spirits, um, departed spirits, and all kinds of different entities from all gamuts. There's definitely some that I will not work with just because I think their very nature is destructive and basically malevolent towards human beings, towards human nature. It's almost they're designed to work against us, and it seems of no value to me to summon something like that up. But there's a lot of the goetic spirits of the Megaton they could still be considered demons, and even though they're not directly adverse to people, they're very powerful, and some of them they have their own agenda and what they would like to instill and do in the world and do with people, and especially people who interact with them. So I definitely keep the precautions in place when conducting those type of experiments.
I see. So, okay, you've got the relationship, and one of the things that I always have to ask people who have the involvement in evocation, there are plenty of people out there to talk to. There are plenty of things to do. You can go get a job and work hard. You can, have the talent of singing and then becoming a singer, and you live and then you die at some point. So you're living and you're actually conversing with let's just say, a realm and entities that aren't here that you'll most likely have some type of interaction with later on. So is it that you don't like to enjoy the now, or is it that you basically are just intrigued to step over and beyond from time to time and jumping the fence? So what I'm asking is, what the hell is it all for you, honestly?
For me, it's the very experience of interaction beyond any kind of results, any kind of worldly gain, anything that I could, ask for them to do for me. It really is the experience and learning. Whether it's an archangel or it's one of the goetic spirits, when they're there, there's so much that happens. There's so much that transpires that it's working on all levels. It's not just the answers to the questions that I have for them. It's not only the promises that they may have to be able to assist me with whatever desire I have for them to assist me with. Their very nature fills up the room. I'm able to experience and behold something that the majority of humanity is either not quite sure exists or absolutely does not believe exists at all.
Sure.
And they're right there in front of me. And I have to say, I've done quite a few evocations over the years and a lot of different works in magic, but still the presence and conversing with these amazing beings is the reason, and if I got nothing else from it, that would be enough for me to continue doing what I'm doing.
I see. Is this life good enough for you then?
I'm very much taken care of, and even though there's always pursuits and other benefits and things that I can achieve, what I've been able to achieve through magical working and working with these beings is gotten me to a point where I feel very, very fortunate and blessed all the time. If I ever find myself complaining, I immediately stop and review all the things that I've been able to do and all the things that I continue to be able to do through these pursuits and just what's gone on for me. And so it's been very much worth it.
I see. But I was just wondering because you've got people in the past who have actually started many of the grimoires of the past, and a lot of that information that you've actually experimented with, and you've actually been able to successfully get about your evocations. Who's to say that you don't have something yourself that you can actually have other people from, maybe 1,500 years down the line say, oh, did you remember Frater Ashen? He actually had so much there, and now, we're living off of his grimoires. What have you contributed on top of this, besides the actual insight and, let's just say, the reinterpretation of going forward? What do you feel that you've actually, or you can contribute to others to help them out?
Sure. I guess my stage in the continuation of ritual magic and having further people conduct these experiments and pursue them, I guess, is a lot of the language and techniques. When I pursue magic, I'm coming at it from different angles, I guess, from my mind, per se. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I have a lot of background in psychology and sociology, philosophy, and I can almost dissect a lot of things that I do or that happens afterwards, and to be able to understand it that way. A lot in my book I talk about working with the scryer. If the person wants to develop their own sight, if they haven't been able to see these spirits and these beings yet, I've been able to work with people personally using techniques of hypnosis and some other magical methods to basically bring them into this world and to experience it in various ways, and that's been very rewarding. And I use a little bit of my background and my experiences of what I've used with my scryer as a hypnotherapist in the book. So that's one technique that is being passed on. And also a lot of my comprehension just about how this works and how we perceive spirits. I talk about that as well, about when spirits appear, and they're definitely there, that understanding how the mind works and how the eyes work and everything, I think will help people understand kind of a little bit about how that works. Our minds allow us to see right side up. The mechanisms of the eyes are seeing upside down, so it's actually the mind that flips it right side up. Colors and perceptions and these sorts of things, that the mind does play a part. The spirits are real, and they're definitely there in form, but energy does not have to assume a shape, color, or an image to begin with. It's not necessary. Just like we use computers and even like the Skype and everything now to condense something so that we can perceive it, so that we can see it. There's ways magically and spiritually that we can hone the mind to be able to help the mind understand exactly what this energy is about, so that we can comprehend it, so that we can see it, so that we can behold it. And I go into that a lot more as well.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a lot about Western occultism, Western philosophies, and there is let's just say the spirit world is not Western or Eastern or Southern or anything like that. It's not even a four corners of, East, North, South, and, you're talking about a circular sphere of energy and a circular sphere of forces. So with that, have you thought to go on through any of the Eastern philosophies, or have you encountered through evocation any of the other, let's just say, outside of the Western goetic, type of 72 definitions of, or let's just say, list of demonic entities? Have you encountered any other entities outside of your studies?
Definitely, and even within the world of magic, I also teach martial arts, and I speak relative Japanese. I can't say I'm fluent, but I've studied a lot of the culture and the language, and also some of the magical practices of the East. And through anthropology as well, which is a major interest of mine, I appreciate the diversity, not only of humanity's comprehension and basically coloration of the spiritual world, but also the diversity within the spiritual world itself. Like you said, it's huge. And what I've come to notice that even though one of my major passions is the grimoires and Western esoteric magic, it is definitely not the only one out there. The way I understand being able to work magic and to converse with spiritual beings is that you need a roadmap, and I think this is why a lot of things are difficult for Westerners who have access to all these different cultural ideas and, you know, what are spirits and everything else, and they almost want to take that all in and then try to do something with it. And I think just about everybody is unsuccessful when they try it that way. It just doesn't work. And the idea is that the human mind comprehension and working can only do so much at one time.
Right.
There are filters, there are cultural, social filters, and there's only in a person's consciousness they have a certain way they can understand various paradigms. So you have to pick something, and it has to be pick something that their unconscious understands, not just their rationale and their reasoning. So this roadmap, if it's something that is embedded in your language, in your culture, in your upbringing, in your surroundings, it's going to be more veritable. You're going to be able to work with it more. It's going to be more real for you. That spirit's going to be able to interact with you more through that paradigm than, say, you know, jumping into a foreign, you know, jungle culture who they've experienced spirits and dealt with them a particular way for hundreds of years, but you're just now coming into it. You're not going to be able, it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to be able to work and communicate with the spirit as successfully as the people who have been in that surrounding. So it's a very kind of interesting psychology and interesting spiritual dynamic about how we connect to the spiritual world individually. And it, through tradition and through having this roadmap, it gives a person a clear line of sight of being able to enact something from beginning to end.
I see. Well, when you talk about the gateway and you talk about, um, you know, and we both agreed on the very vast, huge world of spirituality out there, or let's just say, you know, in there, or whatever the case may be. Um, have you come to a decision that it's a gateway that once you cross, there is no going back? Do you feel that honestly that this world that we do live in is pretty much shaded with a lot of let's just say fallacies of things that we aren't even aware of, you know, the world that we're not aware of? I mean, that gateway that you've crossed, have you been able to cross back and say, well, you know what, that's that world, that's when I'm, you know, under, you know, my hypnotic state and things like that? You truly do, I'm quite sure, live this 24/7, or you feel that it is a world that's not separated, as if you will. So it's not so much a, you know, once you do cross the gateway, there is no turning back, or have you decided to say, well, you know, when I'm going through ritual, it'll be during that time, and then thereafter, it's my everyday life. What is your life like spiritually versus the actuality of your life?
It is definitely 24/7, and if there's one thing that I'm pretty much convinced of is that the majority of human beings, especially in this day and age, it's not that the magical and spiritual world is as something that's almost separate or in the
Yeah.
mind. It is because that people, through survival and through other techniques, have actually filtered a lot of things out just to be able to function. There's a lot of things that the brain and perception dismisses continuously all the time just to be able to function with a lot of the things that we have in front of us. And it's funny that through my upbringing, even before my major grimoire and magical pursuits, it's always been around.
Mm.
My family, my father deals with these things on a continual basis, and even my family now, that despite doing magic or not, or even thinking about it, stuff will happen to us on a pretty semi-regular basis. And it's really funny that even now, sometimes I'll try to be almost in that completely, I guess, mundane or physical world. And as soon as I'm there, something will happen spiritually,
Mm.
magically, that will be not only perceivable by me, but anybody who's around me and my family, to constantly remind me that these things are always going on, and it doesn't matter if I'm imagining them or thinking about them or not. They're always there, and they will often come around me and sometimes confront me, and if I'm not always paying attention.
Let's just take this to tomorrow. Let's just take this to, you've taken it from yesterday, you put it in today. Let's take it till tomorrow. Your book that is out, and you doing the interviews, and you really talking to other people, and so many other people who are interested into the occult and spirituality, collectively. If you multiply that with, let's just say, a little bit of awareness here and there, and then some practice, you're going to have a society that practices magic, daily, and that believes in it. And that's just wishful thinking on my part. But let's just put it to that particular area. Are you talking about opening up gates a little bit broader than what you, me, and a lot of other people have done and are doing, to a point where that the gates are always open? What I'm getting at is, what do you see tomorrow in magic, because of the exploitation that we have come from the very beginning, from Wicca, or actually it was called witchcraft at some point. Well, it still is witchcraft, but many people are, they got into the Wicca, they got into the New Age, then some people got into, other areas, which I won't name, but just areas here and areas there, to the point where now it's like a collective society of just magic and awareness and just practice. But tomorrow may open up a whole different world. Where do you see that world?
As far as the magical world, and especially due to some of the experiences I've had, where through hypnosis and through some other methods, and I've been curious to bring some people into the magical world who were very fascinated and very, very interested. And some of my experiences were with some of these people, their reaction to it, and they weren't quite ready for it yet. They didn't understand what happened. They had a lot of feelings that made them uneasy. Some people were not able to, really experience what was going on, but they felt something, and even spontaneously, when things have happened, that people knew something was going on, but they couldn't quite see it. They couldn't quite comprehend it. And what I've learned is that no matter how much time passes, the information age is given a lot of things to people, and also in a lot of our modern cultures, there's a lot more acceptability, which also helps of, these things not having to be so buried down that they're afraid of persecution and, this type of thing. That's helped out a lot as well. But as far as, everybody being able to practice magic or this kind of thing, I've really come to believe that, some people are ready to step through that gateway, and then some people it's really not their time yet. For whatever reason, it almost seems like there's a higher moderator that their purpose is to deal with something else, and that's important, that they be able to do that and not be hindered by some of these things. It can take up a lot of time. It can make a big impact on your life, and really take your focus from other things that could be there as well. And it just seems that there's still quite a few people that it's not their time to really step through that gateway and to really have these experiences quite yet. And I don't know exactly what that reason is all the time, even because it can happen to people who are even open and very much interested in wanting to have these experiments, but for some reason they keep on eluding them, or when you try to take them into that, something happens where their psyche, their consciousness, it does not work well for them. It doesn't have the kind of reaction that they were hoping for. Sometimes it makes them fearful or very agitated, I've noticed. And I've come to respect that, and to definitely not force it when it just doesn't seem to be their time yet. There seems to be almost something higher that is saying when that's appropriate and when it's not, and to be okay with that. That not everybody's going to be able to see what I've seen and to have these experiments or these experiences. And that's how it is.
Do you have any messages that you've received that you would like to share with the audience? Because there, you talk about, even with Enoch and, context, there are messages that you do receive with any type of communication. And with you, of course, if there is just an ask and, answer session, that's one thing. But there's also, too, a message of advice. There's a message of going forward. And it's still, I'm trying to steal a little bit of knowledge from you as to possibly, if you could possibly to say, what, in addition, that you may have learned. Because in the beginning, there was someone who started it off, from what you've read and what you have practiced. And then, of course, you've reinterpreted. But there has to be something there that you may be willing to share with the audience that you could possibly help everyone to possibly go forward and to just basically dwell within that knowledge and take it from there.
Sure. Well, I guess I could say something gained from each one of the beings that I've spoken to, and each have not only amazing lessons, but quite a few feedback for myself personally, because I mostly ask for myself personally, but for humanity as large. And it's very interesting how much interest they actually take in how we conduct ourselves and how we treat each other, which I find to be very, very interesting, why they should actually care so much about how people treat each other and what you're also doing with yourself, how you're conducting your life. And some of the most amazing, I guess, knowledge that keeps on coming back to me is some of my experiments with Archangel Raphael, who, in the guise of Mercury, almost seems to take on almost like a Hermes type, kind of display. Like he's definitely an angel, but he's up in the air, and he is known as the divine healer. It is his name. But it's interesting how I don't know if it was through the guise of Mercury, but his lectures and his when I was talking about healing and being able to use healing for myself and family and for others and this kind of thing, he talks so much about how communication works and the way that we treat each other, and that we don't see the large thread of even with our words and the way that we interact with each other, what that does for not only their health, but this kind of domino effect and how it's going to ripple through everybody that they come in contact with. And then if I use certain words in a certain way, and if I engage people a certain way, that the transformation you can have on this amazing level through their mind and through their body is, he talked about that being a magic of light of God more than we would ever be able to see. That's magic. It's hidden within them, but they'll be able to feel it and see it inside themselves just through this interaction. And I learned a lot about that through him, about how this way of relating and doing various things with people, paying attention to the moment and really displaying certain words to work in their betterment, has these. He showed that as a display of this universal burst of light, like it would fill up the whole galaxy or something as simple as just brief conversation and words, and that is a time and a remembered lesson that comes back often that I really appreciated.
Okay. It sounds like your book is actually going to be a prequel to another book, and that could be my prediction. But it looks like that your book, you actually are, I see another book coming for you. Do you have another book in the makes?
I do. I'm working on the volume 2. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be called, but it's going to be giving a lot more of my personal experiences, and also the experiences of my scryer and the person I've been working with for quite a while, sharing these experiments with, some of the more knowledge we've gained from the angels, which is leading to magical techniques and spells, things that you can do magically that they've personally instructed us in, that I felt that I've been allowed to share. And that's going to be really interesting to see how people's take in this next book is, and also some of the lesser planetary angels and spirits, and also moving beyond just the the archangels of the planets, but using the drawing spirits in the crystals system to be able to contact all sorts of different beings, whether they be angels or otherwise. So I'll kind
I
of leave it
see.
at that, but
Well,
there's
well,
going to be more in there.
with that, I was just wondering about the let's just say you mentioned that they're concerned of humanity and how we interact and how we communicate and how we work with each other and the ripple effect that it has on unconceivable things that many may not be able to see or feel. With that in mind, there is a plane there that is communicated that they see that we aren't aware of. So with this knowledge that you're giving, the knowledge that you're actually sharing, and the knowledge that they've shared with you, there has to be some type of, let's just say, ripple effect based on the persona of as humans, as savages to a certain degree, and very selfish and let's just say non-loving and egotistical, and you can use all those words, pick all the, there's a huge thesaurus you can pick up on some of the human traits that could possibly go in the negative. So you've mentioned about the ripple effect of things that we shouldn't do or that's not good. However, you're talking about giving this knowledge to humanity, that will do just exactly that. So, is there a code of secrecy to who will receive this information, or is it just basically give it to everyone and let's just see how it works?
It was definitely thought out very carefully. There's obviously some things that I'm sharing quite a bit in this book and in my next book, but there's going to be things that I keep for myself. Some of the things I also keep for myself are questions and answers that pertain to me personally that are only really valuable to myself
Sure.
as I see it, and that I'm keeping personally. And then some techniques that I felt would be possibly omitted. But I am sharing a lot, and the way that I've come about this and that I really see it is that the people who will benefit from gateways through Stone and Circle and anything else that I may have out in the future are the people who are able to actually conduct these rituals. And I don't do anything that's easy magic or hey, you can whip this up in a moment. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of dedication. I think for this to work in the manner for I know it to work. And the type of people who do this magic are going to be the ones who are serious, that they're going to be able to see it through. They're going to be able to be passionate about it for over a few months of just bringing these things together. And with these other methods that I'll be sharing magically that I received, I think the people that are actually able to do it are the people that would be allowed to do it.
Mm.
And that it would be not any coincidence that someone kind of half did it or had intentions that were way off would not be successful. That would not be surprising to me. These things work in a very specific manner as far as that goes, as far as I can tell. And that's why I don't feel bad sharing what I have and what I continue to share. Because for some people it'll be entertaining reading, and then hopefully for some of those few that actually go through the ritual, that I'll be able to share with them these experiences, and they can share with me. And I'm excited to see other people working through the system and going, this is amazing, and wow, and I'm doing this too. I can see this too, and that's what I'm excited about to see, because I know I'm not the only person who can do this and perceive these beings. I know there's got to be more who can do this.
Sure. Well, with that, I want to thank you for your time, because the information you've given is quite a lot, and I can actually feel that you've actually touched with a lot of entities, a lot of a lot of the forces that have allowed you the ability to actually connect and have that two-way stream of let's say communication, because many times you come across people who it's it's a one way, or it's, you know, it's not there. But I do feel that your connection is quite special. Are you teaching, or are you have you thought about teaching in this aspect rather than just helping people out to go through the ritual? Is it just a matter of helping them through the ritual, or is it actually a student-teacher aspect and relationship that you've actually grown to have?
I think as far as I present the book, I pretty much like, you know, it's starting from the beginning to where I've come so far, and it's like, here it is. This is what I've experimented with. This is what I've
I
experienced,
see.
and
Okay.
I think it's amazing. And I don't claim to be, you know, an all master, but I have been working with, I guess, one student who I'm so caught up in experiencing and continuing to experiment that you know, I think as just solely to teach, you almost have to like stop doing that
Yeah.
and focus a lot on your student. But this particular individual showed the kind of dedication and knowledge and continual passion to actually see this through, where I've been corresponding with him and working with him step by step. And it's been a real pleasure because he's put forth the work and interest way over a year. And I have a lot of, you know, a lot of hope and kind of confidence vested in him just because of the dedication he's had for the ritual. So that's been a treat for me, probably more so than him. I've been really appreciating him, and he's been kind of following a lot of my footsteps in doing this ritual. I'm excited for him to, you know, have his own experiences and to really personalize, because when you're in the midst of it, when it happens, it's yours. It's not a grimoire book. It's not, you know, this old magic or his magic or my magic. It's yours because you're experiencing it, and you know, you're in the moment of it. And I'm looking forward for other people doing that as well. That's part of one of the main reasons I wrote the book.
I see. Well, how is the best way for people to contact you if they have any questions, or if they'd like to get, you know, further direction after reading your book?
Some of the best ways to contact me, they can reach me by email, which is brianashen@yahoo.com. Or they can find my magical name on Facebook is probably the best way to find me, the Frater Ashen Chassan.
I see. Okay. Well, with that, brother, I want to say to you, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I really, really enjoy the information that you've shared through the connections that you've had, and I can't wait for your next book, because part two sounds just as good as the one that you've got. So I want to thank you, and I'd love to have you back on when you have your next book too, because it sounds like it's actually going to be one of those wow factors, whereas you're really going to say, okay, fine, that's what you meant by the first time and everything. So great, I'm looking forward to that.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.